Okay, so today's lesson is going to be on the table of halves and doublings. We're going to talk about how our rhythmic system, there's two elements to music. One is pitch, which we studied yesterday. One is rhythm. When we're talking about rhythm, we need to know that the table of halves and doublings means that all of our rhythmic system is based on two. It's based on twice as much or twice as little. Therefore, we'll start with one note in the middle, and we call this a quarter note. Down below on your page, would you please write that this is a quarter note? It's a quarter of something. What is a quarter of? Well, we're going to find that out. If we double a quarter note, we get a half note. It looks exactly the same except we take the middle out of it, so it's not colored in. So there's the half note. The next note bigger, if we double a half note, we take away the stem, it's called a whole note. Write that down. There's only one other note that we get bigger than that, and that's what we call the double whole note. Sometimes it's got two lines on the side, sometimes just one. And that's what I like to call the TIE fighter note. Now, if I go back the opposite direction, half of this is this. Half of this is this, and half of this is this. So 4 of these equal 1 of these. And 8 of these equal 1 of these. It's all based on 2. When I'm coming back the other way, how do I make this twice as short? I add a flag. Once I add a flag, we were at a quarter note, so let's see, whole note, half note, quarter note, what would this be called?
Eighth.
That'd be called an eighth note. So you add a flag and you're getting twice as short, which means now 2 of these will equal 1 of these. 4 of these will equal 1 of these. 8 of these will equal 1 of these, etc. All based on 2. Going back. Now we've gone this far in our books. We haven't necessarily seen too many of these, if any. If I add 2 flags, what do I get? 16th. Notes. 2 times greater than this is what? 2 times greater than this is an eighth note. 2 times greater than an eighth note is quarter note. 2 times greater than a quarter note is a half note. 2 times shorter than a half note is a quarter note. So every time you move 1 time on the chart, you're doubling or cutting in half. The next would be 3 flags. What would we call that? We'd call that a 32nd note. 2 times smaller than a 16th is a 32nd. Go 1 more. 4 flags. What do we call 4 flags? A 64th note. A 64th of what? 64th of this. Half of this, a quarter of this, an eighth of this, a 16th of that, etc. You could go further than that. So somewhere in the margin, tell me what it would be if it were 5 flags. What would 5 flags be?
Too much.
Too much is the answer, right? Okay, so double that. What do you get? 128th note. And you say, well, that must be really fast. Well, it's not necessarily really fast. It depends on how fast your quarter note is or what your beat is. What if this is the beat? Then those aren't going to be quite as fast as you think. But they are kind of cumbersome to work with. What would it be if I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flags? $256 note. And remember, more flags, more fun. Thank you. Okay. Remember that when you move this way in the chart, yeah, thank you, it is 2 times greater. And when you move this way in the chart, it is 2 times shorter. And all of our rhythmic system is based on that. Any questions? Nope? Okay. Look down at the bottom of the page and you're going to see a couple of important notes to think about when we're naming these. So, what's the first important note? First, if more than one flag note is used, change the flags to beams. For example, this starts to become difficult to read after a while. It starts to become too cumbersome. So the way we can neaten that up is we would do this. We connect everything on a beam. The beam makes it a little easier to read, a little easier to see, okay? You can also mix and match. For example, I've got an 8th note, 2 16th notes. Now you can see where the flags start to get a little messy. So I can connect them like so. 1 8th note with the 1 beam, 2 16th notes with the 2 beams, okay? Last thing. If I see a note like this, and I see a note like this, they mean exactly the same thing. I'm just changing the direction of the flag. You'll notice the flag is always on the right, okay? If I see a note like this, it's a half note. If I see a note like this, it's a half note. Means the exact same thing. And the joke is, this is the same as this. Okay, any questions? No questions, okay. Thank you very much.